For me, this concept of otherness is to try and define what there is in American culture that, first of all, keeps us separate and apart, and looking back historically, and in my case, the visual arts, is how it came about, why it came about, and so forth. So I have gone back to images and to the media, and looking at how African Americans were portrayed in the media, buffoonery, you know, and things of that nature, the stereotype, the derogatory image, and so forth. And the question, what brought about that unkindness amongst people? Why is it that somebody had to think that by degrading another individual, looking at that person derisively, they elevated themselves? What in any religion, what in any culture tells them to do that? And in certain ways, we have advanced ourselves beyond almost any other nation in doing that, to the extent that we became the model for South Africa and other such places. So my question, and I'm trying to address this issue Friday morning in my so-called keynote address at Howard for the Porter Symposium, even though I won't go into those great details because I don't think the audience would be interested. But what is it in our psychic? What is it that makes us want to divide ourselves like that, even with the color line? Because I said in national crisis, we tend to be one. So why can't we be one at other times? So I've gone back to look at the images. And it is very interesting that in the media, in the newspapers, in the magazines, Harper's and Bazaar and all these, there is that systematic overview of images that separates and says, no, they aren't as good as we are, so we have to treat them differently, and so forth and so on. And even when there's a so-called positive image, and I give an example of a painting by William Sidney Mount, where a woman, a black woman, is beautifully attired in a boat with a white boy, and they're off the Sound, Long Island Sound, and she's teaching him how to spear eels and so forth. And you go to the museum, you look at that image, and you say, oh, what a beautiful image, painted in the 1850s, this black woman. Well, when you go to Mount's diary, and he says it's an autobiographical picture, he says, I was taught to spear eels by a black man, but I could not put a black man at the helm of the boat. So little things as little as that. So it's endemic, it's ingrained in the society that there has been this subversive use of images to tear down the personality, the persona of somebody else. And so I'm trying to look at it historically and to say, then if you see buffoonery on television, you shouldn't be surprised. It's ingrained in the system. It's part and parcel of the system. And, you know, Aunt Jemima, she's been to the beauty shop, but she's still there selling products. Uncle Ben has shaven and cleaned up and so forth. But what I'm trying to do is get people to think, have we really changed? If we haven't, don't we need to change, and so forth.